Hi guys, it's me Ty here, and today I'm going to talk about should you buy a Mazda. And the first thing I'm going to think about here is the environment that we're in right now. Like, for how many years people have been saying buy Hondas and Toyotas. Well, they both have their problems right now. Like, the old reliable Hondas from the 1990s, they were all stick shifts because Honda did not have good transmissions, and that's why they went a million miles. And the Toyotas just lasted forever too, but not anymore. I priced out new Toyota Corollas and new Honda Civics and everything. And Honda and Toyota, neither of them offers a stick shift, and neither of them offers a traditional automatic transmission. The Toyota Corollas, they all have CVT transmissions in them, and the Honda Civics and Accords, they've all got CVT transmissions in them, and the Honda Accords and Civics, their CVTs are going out like crazy, and they won't sell you the parts like the belt to rebuild them or anything. You have to pay the $7,500 for a brand new transmission from them. That's all part of their money making scheme there. And if you don't think that the CVT transmission goes out on Toyotas, it does. I just talked to a couple people, and they both got 2015 model Toyota Corollas, and I thought that was at like 75,000 miles or something like that. The CVT has failed on them. So, no, they're not good there either. Um, and I believe that was before they put that first gear launch gear in there, but they're just still not going to last that long. So, one of my buddies just called me up a couple of days ago, and he's like, I just bought a 2016 Mazda 6. And I was like, what the heck is that? Because I thought about buying a Mazda for a few years now, and he's like, it's actually a big sedan. He's like, it's probably the size of a Buick LeSabre, and it's only got a four-cylinder in it, but it has a traditional old school automatic transmission in it. He's like, you could see the thing up, shift down, and it's got a little four-cylinder engine in it. He's like going 80 miles an hour down interstate. He's like, me and the wife were getting in 32 miles per gallon, which is pretty darn good for a big luxury sedan like that. And um, when I was on the workforce, one of my coworkers, he used to have a 2014 Mazda 3 hatchback, and they're just a front-wheel drive car. And he always told me he gets 40 miles per gallon with it, but he drives like an old grandpa. He drives 60 miles an hour when the speed limit's probably 75. I mean, just holding up traffic there. So I decided to go ahead and my buddy, he didn't do too much research before he bought his car, so I decided to watch a bunch of YouTube videos on the reviews of the wait a minute, his is a 2017. That's what it is. On the 2017 model, and that was a changeover year between 2016 and 2017. Like 2016 had the big navigation screen inside the dashboard, whereas in 2017, like my buddies, that's when they put the big iPad on the top of the dashboard. So like I said, my buddy, he hasn't had it too long or whatever, and I looked it up on YouTube videos, and it pushed me to a 2016 model though. And up popped this video. This guy is like, I have over 400,000 miles on my Mazda 6. So I clicked on it, and I thought he said he bought it at like 45,000 or 60,000 original miles, and he put on 404,000 miles on it in 8 years because the car was only 8 years old now. And he's like, honestly, I didn't have any major troubles until 250,000 miles. In which he's like, in reality, the average American only puts on 15,000 miles a year. So he's like, it would take the average American like 26 years to ever even get to the point like that major stuff would go wrong on it. And he's like, I'm still on the original engine and transmission. He's like, what I attribute being on the original automatic transmission in this car is that it's got the paddle shifters in it where you can shift the automatic transmission manually, like in the Honda Fit or the Honda Jazz. And he's like, because I noticed, I'd be going down interstate or whatever, 80 miles an hour, and you get to a long hill, and it doesn't shift until you're just about to the top of the hill, and at that point you're at such high RPMs, it's such a aggressive shift. So he's like, what I would do is, he's like, usually when I knew that I was getting to a really long hill or whatever, he's like, I would downshift to a lower gear before I'd even start climbing the hill, and that way the transmission won't be hunting, shifting up, shifting down, shifting up, shifting down. Because the transmission, it only gets so many shifts in its life before it's wore out. So Um, but he said that the thing about that Mazda 6 though, he's like he wore out brake pads like crazy. Every 25,000 to 30,000 miles, his brake pads were completely wore down, and he was kind of still running them that way. He wasn't getting into the shop because he was putting on 75,000 miles a year. So he was always running the brake pads into the rotor, and he was wrecking the rotors. So that was $300 to $400 every darn time, whereas most people would just buy the $40 brake pads and put them in. And then he said also at just after 250,000 miles, the serpentine belt broke on it, which according to all owner's manuals of any of my Hondas that I've had, you're supposed to change it out at 150,000, but I always change it out at 100,000 just as preventative maintenance. Just I change out my water pumps at 100,000. Um, and then another thing, he said that the uh, tires. He was going through tires like crazy. Every 30,000 miles, he was having to buy a new set of 19-inch tires for it because that's what came on it. And those 19-inch tires, they're so expensive. They went through so many of them that eventually he just bit the bullet and he bought a new set of rims of 16-inch rims so that the tires are way cheaper. So now he still goes through tires, but it's just way cheaper to go through them. And then he said that he has had to rebuild the suspension components, like the steering on it, 2 times in this 400,000 miles. Like he's blown out the 2 rear shocks, which that's just normal. They were leaking, changed those out. But he's like, I've had to change out the tie rod ends twice. The control arms in the front and the rear, the bushings went out, so he had to change all those out. But and then also he said about every 4 years he goes down to like St. George, Utah, where it gets up to at least 110 degrees, and he was noticing that his AC wasn't working the first time. So he took it in to the shop, and they said your 2 high pressure fuel pumps went out on it, and that was a $2,500 repair bill, and that didn't fix it. But then he headed back up north to North Carolina or whatever, where it is and it's hot, and he didn't notice that his AC wasn't working anymore. He thought that it was fixed. And I wasn't even aware that those cars have 2 high pressure fuel pumps on them. So about 4 years later, he goes down to St. George, Utah again, and the AC wasn't blowing very cold either. And I think that they changed out the radiator. You guys have to watch the YouTube video. It's a pretty viral video. You guys should be able to find it on that guy. But other than that, he's like, I would definitely recommend this car. He's like, just and other than that, just like little things. He said the heated seats went the heater inside the seats went out. I know, like he said, first world troubles, things that really don't matter. Uh, so that's where that is. And then I got started thinking about it, and I was like, oh darn it, I was like, the thing that always put me off about Mazda is like anywhere that you move in the United States, or if you're working, like me, I've worked all over the place. Um, there's certain areas that the Mazda dealerships, your closest Mazda dealer, if you have trouble with that car, is 300 miles away. There's a lot of places where your closest Mazda dealer is 300 miles away, and same with the Mitsubishi dealers. So that's what always put me off about them, because no matter where you live in the United States, there's always a Honda dealer and a Toyota dealer and a Ford dealer and a Chevy dealer, but not Mazda and not Mitsubishi's. But then I started thinking about it. My buddy here, he paid 17,000 for this 9-year-old um, uh, Mazda 6 with 60,000 miles, and he's like, "Yeah, I know it's a lot of money for an old freaking car that's 9 years old, but he's like, it's just the way it is right now." And but once they're off warranty, anyways, um, most people are gonna just go ahead and buy the cheap scan tool to release the electronic parking brake in them anyways, so you can change out your own brake pads yourself rather than having to hire a professional to do it. And then also by your car being used, usually there's lots of YouTube videos on how you can reprogram the computer and all that kind of stuff, and do a mail. If your ECM would go out, you would just go ahead and find one of the sites online where you give them the VIN number and they program it in there, and then they have it where you just install it, all that kind of stuff. So really, with YouTube now, you don't really need the dealership. So it probably isn't that big of a deal to switch to Mazdas if you want a new car anyways. Me, I'm a big Honda Fit guy, and they quit making them in 2020, and I'm just kind of sticking with them. So that's where I'm at. Um, and then Fords, you definitely don't want to go with them, because them with their dual clutch automatic transmissions, it was all about cafe standards. They didn't care if the transmissions went out. They just needed good gas mileage vehicles so that they could build their big gas hog pickups because that's where they have the most profit margin is off those. Um, and then, uh, oh, so I decided to go to Eon One Mall here in Phnom Penh right after I talked to my buddy, and I was like, I'm gonna go look at brand new Mazdas. I gotta check them out. And I'd always liked the Mazda 3s because they're a hatchback. They're a four-door hatchback like a Honda Fit. So I go in there and I talk to the salesman. He had a bunch of them on the floor. He had a Mazda 2 sedan and he had a Mazda 3. And it used to be people would always say you want to buy the Mazda 3 because Mazda 3, they vowed that they will never uh, put a CVT transmission in them. They are going to keep them either as a stick shift or as a traditional automatic transmission. So I went ahead and I checked out that car, and it was $32,000. Mazdas are expensive, you guys, and I think that they get about 30 miles per gallon from what people have said. They're more about the driving experience. And I was, with it being a really new car, I was really skeptical of it, of like how much is of this tech am I gonna like in it. So I went around the car and I hopped in there. It does have an electronic parking brake in it. Um, the shifter lever, I think that's just a normal shifter lever between the seats that sits on the floor there. It does have the iPad up on the dashboard, and I was really worried about that, but really not that much is on that iPad. That iPad has the navigation screen on it and your radio, and it might have some system checks for the engine, but I'm not sure. But it really wasn't that many. And then with that iPad, that pissed me off about them. Usually they kind of block your view when you're driving. Like I test drove a brand new 2019 Toyota Yaris when they first came out, and that iPad up on the dash, I'd swear that thing was blocking my view of the windshield. But this car here, you set low enough or high enough in it, anyways, that even though the iPad extends, I don't know, maybe an inch over the dash or whatever, it does not go up to the bottom of the windshield line, so it isn't actually in your view. Um, and the controls were really nice inside the car. Um, what else on it? The seats, he folded down the seats. They had quite a bit of room, I guess. Then I had him pop the hood for me, and oh yeah, and it has 16-inch rims, so the tires are gonna be cheap for it too. So he popped the hood and he showed me the four-cylinder engine. It's like a Sky Active, and then it has a six-speed automatic transmission. And it didn't say if it's CVT or not, but when I Googled it, Google can lie too, but it says that it's not a CVT according to Google. But first thing I noticed is it does have an engine oil dipstick because I've heard a lot of new cars now you can't check your engine oil anymore. Uh, but it has an engine oil dipstick. It has the old school metal radiator cap to fill your coolant. It has an old school brake fluid reservoir. It has electronic power steering though, but my Honda Fit has that. They've had that for years and it works just fine. But they did not have a dipstick to check your automatic transmission fluid. So I don't know how you check that. But just so you guys are aware, you guys are going to want to talk to the salesman to make sure that it is something that you can be checking your transmission fluid. So if you have any leaks, that you don't have that go out on you. I was kind of disappointed about the price. So then after that, I went ahead and I looked at um, the Mazda 2 there, and that was just a sedan. I was hoping that would have been a hatchback because, like, when I was in high school, all my classmates and the kids in school, they all drove like 1980s Volkswagen diesel Rabbits that got like 45 miles per gallon. And they were hatchbacks, and then they also drove old Chevy hatchbacks, and I think those were just two doors. And they both might have both been two doors from the 1980s. It was their parents' high school cars, from when I was a kid, and there wasn't much money. It was real poverty, and I think gas was expensive in the 1980s because a lot of them, when they were kids in the 1970s, there was the gas shortage, and that's what made Honda Civics so popular. Um, was they needed to build little cars like that because nobody could afford gas. There wasn't enough gas in the United States. They told people to turn down the heat in their homes to conserve energy, wear a sweater in the house. That's just the life that it was back in the 1970s. So, of course, when these little cars came out, they were hatchbacks because a little like Toyota Yaris, if you buy the um, the sedan model, the trunk is so tiny on it, and the back doors are so tiny on it. When you go to Walmart, your big items like a TV or anything like that, you can't fit them in there, or a little college refrigerator, you can't fit them in there. So that's why hatchbacks were so popular back in the 70s and 80s. If you are going to get a little um, uh, subcompact car, so you can actually haul stuff like a pickup, because that's kind of the point of it. You want to be able to use it as a pickup because you can't afford to be driving a pickup. So, um, but yeah, and then all around Phnom Penh, Cambodia, I see a lot of Mazdas around here. Mazda 3 definitely the most of the Mazda cars, anyways. Toyota Prius is definitely the most popular thing around here, and Toyota Highlanders, and then the Lexus that is the exact same size as the Toyota Highlander. Those SUVs are all three really popular here. But like I said, I see a lot of the Mazdas here, and for pickups, honestly, the most common pickup I see around here is a Mazda pickup. It's the size of a Toyota Tacoma. It's called a Mazda BT-50 4x4. But the reality is, I know everybody talks about these Toyota Tacomas, they last forever. What can you do with a Toyota Tacoma? That box is so tiny on there, you can maybe fit a washing machine in there. Yet you can't haul a four-wheeler, you can't haul a motorcycle in it. It's not even practical to be used for doing pickup things. You need a full-size Chevy or whatever. So if you're gonna do that, you would have to get like a Toyota Tundra. Their same size is a half ton, but um, Toyotas don't offer anything in the three-quarter ton if you're gonna be pulling a gooseneck trailer. So let's see here. Oh, and the best thing about that Mazda 2, you guys, the price tag on it was $19,999. When is the last time you guys saw a $20,000 brand new car? And I'm not sure what the warranty is on those, but that's pretty darn awesome. And I remember when I was in school, when I was a kid, the uh, Kia Sedonas, they were um, a small sedan like a Toyota Corolla. They were $12,000. And then one of my old coworkers, I remember he bought a brand new Honda Civic hatchback, and he paid $16,000 for it. And then another guy that I knew, he bought a brand new Chevy hatchback car, and he paid $16,000 for it. Whereas now, you're going to pay 26 to $28,000 for a brand new Toyota Corolla or brand new Honda Civic, which, like I said, they have CVT transmissions that go out. So, um, let's see here. Okay, so I guess your only other option, I guess, is if you guys were gonna get like a good gas mileage car, would be a Toyota Prius. But my buddy, he buys brand new ones all the time, and I test drove his 2014 model when I was looking at that 2019 Toyota Yaris, and I folded down the back seats, and there was barely any room in there with how high the floor is with that battery underneath there. So you cannot fit a Chevy pickup transmission in there with how high the bell housing is, and that's why I went with the Honda Fit. So depends on what you do, but uh, Toyota Prius is not practical for what I use them for, running across the country, running for parts and stuff. Um, yeah, I'm gonna call this good on this video, you guys. I covered all the topics there, so yeah, I would definitely buy one. And that guy that has 400,000 miles on his Mazda 6, which they discontinued now, um, he recommends them. So just go ahead and get yourself a cheap scan tool though for releasing that electric parking brake, so you can change your brake pads and stuff like that. So if you guys like this content, like, share, and subscribe, and I will just keep kicking out these money-saving videos from Cambodia and all these auto repair videos and just how to save money here in Cambodia and everything about Honda Fits and about the GM T800 truck platforms. So, all right, take care, you guys.